Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen regular meeting for July is called to order. Please stand and we'll have the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started tonight, I just want to thank each and every one of our employees. This is a difficult time. Each month I sit up here and say, COVID's soon going to be over. Who knows when COVID's going to be over? I want to thank each one of you department heads, and please tell your employees, y'all have done an awesome job. Ms. Holt, Mr. Martin, everyone around the room, we are blessed to have such a great staff and that you have gone out and been able to carry on business during COVID. So we thank you. Thank you for the great job you do. 1.2, the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on June 16th, 2020, and the special called meeting for June 18th, 2020. Are there any corrections? No corrections? We have a motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Arnold. We're ready for a vote. I still want to say all in favor. Then do a voice vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to our public hearings, 1.3. Our first public hearing is Ordinance 20-13, an ordinance to adjust the security light rental rates of the Springfield Electric Department. If there is anyone that would like to speak to this on this ordinance, please come to the mic, state your name, and you have 2 minutes. No one would like to speak? Public hearing is adjourned. Second public hearing, Ordinance 20-14, an ordinance rezoning the corner of Roost Street and Golf Club Lane from R10 to MRO. If you would like to speak, please come to the mic. No one would like to speak? The public hearing is closed. 2.1. Discuss and possible take action on Ordinance 20-13 on a second reading, an ordinance to adjust the security light rental rates of the Springfield Electric Department. We need a motion and a second to discuss. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Trotter. Discussion. Any questions? No discussion, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on Ordinance 20-14 on a second reading. An ordinance rezoning the corner of Roost Street and Golf Club Lane from R10 to MRO. We need a motion and a second to discuss. Motion by Alderman Gregg, second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions? No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the vote.
Motion passes 6-1.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on Ordinance 20-15 on a first reading, an ordinance rezoning 9 parcels located in the 9th Civil District on 17th Avenue East from MH Mobile Home District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. Ms. Brickles, will you please read this since it's the first reading?
Ordinance 20-15, an ordinance rezoning 9 parcels located in the 9th Civil District on 17th Avenue East from MH Mobile Home District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. Whereas an application for rezoning was presented to the Springfield Planning Commission by Reyes Construction owner requesting 9 parcels, approximately 1.62 acres, located on 17th Avenue East to be rezoned from MH Mobile Home District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. The Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the application and voted with a favorable recommendation for these parcels to be rezoned. Now, therefore, it be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. 9 parcels totaling approximately 1.62 acres owned by Reyes Construction Incorporated, located on 17th Avenue East, tax map 91C, Group G, parcels 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, and being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, is hereby rezoned from MH Mobile Home District to MRO Multiple Residential and Office District. This rezoning shall become effective following its 3rd and final passage as required by law.
Thank you. We need a motion to discuss and a second. Motion made by Alderman Gregg and a second by Alderman Hubbard. Questions?
Comment?
Yes, sir.
I am really, I'm really glad to see the change that has come over this 17th Avenue. Because for a long time, there was one depressing street. This is my ward, so I kind of applaud the gentleman for his actions of cleaning it up.
Okay. Others? No other questions, discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
2.4, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-16 on a first reading. A ordinance rezoning 6 parcels located in the 9th Civil District on Baldwin Lane from R20 Low Density Residential District to R7 High Density Residential District. Please read this, Ms. Brickles.
Ordinance 20-16, an ordinance rezoning 6 parcels located in the 9th Civil District on Baldwin Lane from R20 Low Density Residential District to R7 High Density Residential District. Whereas an application for rezoning was presented to the Springfield Planning Commission by Venture 24 LLC owner and Jim Moore, owner's authorized agent, requesting 6 parcels, tax map 91J, Group A, parcels 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 10, approximately 2.15 acres, located on Baldwin Lane, be rezoned from R20 Low Density Residential District to R7 High Density Residential District. Whereas the Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the request and does not recommend that these parcels to be rezoned. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. 6 parcels totaling approximately 2.15 acres owned by Venture 24 LLC, located on Baldwin Lane, tax map 91J, Group A, parcels 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 10 of the tax maps of Robertson County, Tennessee, and being more fully described by Exhibit A attached, is hereby rezoned from R20 Low Density Residential District to R7 High Density Residential District. This rezoning shall become effective following its 3rd and final passage as required by law.
Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Gregg. Discussion.
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
In the voting,
Well, we'll get to Mr. Trotter next. Go ahead.
in the voting, if you want to favor what our planning commission says, do we vote yes or no? Does yes mean that we support what the planning commission says?
I think you would be.
You'd vote no.
You would vote no.
Vote no,
Because
okay.
you're voting on the rezoning.
Okay.
It has been brought to us, and this is a
Okay.
question of whether you want to do this or not.
Okay. But I was wondering which.
Good question, because that kind of gets confusing.
Okay.
Alderman Trotter.
I understand the planning, it's in my ward, and I understand the planning commission didn't give a favorable recommendation, and I understand my constituents in that area would like for it to remain the same as it already is and not be changed, so I'll be voting against it, and I ask the other board members to vote against it.
Okay. Other discussion?
Could we
Yes.
have Mr. Brewer?
Mr. Harris.
Brewer.
David Brewer is coming to the microphone. He's going to answer some questions Mr. Harris has.
Will you explain, by going from R20, which it is presently zoned, to R7, what that's going to do or not do, or?
Yes, Mr. Harris, thank you for asking. Presently, it is zoned R20. Now, with that said, there is a pre-existing, non-conforming subdivision that was recorded in November of 1945.
Get down where we can hear you.
No, your mask.
Your mask.
Thank you.
Sorry. There's a pre-existing subdivision that is there within that zoning classification. There's a non-conforming subdivision that was recorded in November of 1945. It has a street in it that is a right-of-way called Harflane, and the following ordinance on our agenda is a recommendation to close that as well. Mr. Moore is going to be able to build on these smaller lots, whether it's rezoned RS or whether it's rezoned from R20 to R7. I think the rezoning will allow him to do a couple of more lots. It will allow him to face more of his new lots on Baldwin Lane. If we rezone it and close Harflane, we will not wind up with a road on a 28-foot right-of-way that doesn't have a cul-de-sac. But that's what we will get if we don't rezone this. So we will pick up a road that'll be 20 foot wide, down 100 feet or so, that we will wind up having to maintain as well.
So how does this affect Dunn Road?
At the present time, Mr. Moore only has one house that he's going to build on Dunn Road.
Okay.
And so it wouldn't require any upgrade to that road. If he was to do
So
more, he'll have to upgrade the width.
By going from R20 to R7, then, in your opinion, what you're seeing is just only thing's going to change would give him the ability to build 2 additional houses.
Somewhere in that neighborhood. I haven't seen his replat yet. We're just talking about the rezoning. Mr. Moore's here if you have a question that he might.
I have some questions for him, but I'll see if anyone else has any for you while you're at the mic.
So just to confirm what you're saying, everything is already platted out there, and it's not like he's trying to add additional homes to that.
Yes, ma'am. He would get some additional lots.
Okay.
He would.
In total, how many would he be able to build?
We're talking about the rezoning. Mr. Moore may be able to better answer it very specifically how many more he would get. More importantly, I think the key is that we're gonna, if we rezone it and give that 28-foot right-of-way of Harflane or abandon it, then Mr. Moore won't build that road, and we won't have it, and we won't maintain it in the future.
Yeah, effectively, it would save the city money.
A little bit, yeah, over time, yes.
Okay, other questions while Mr. Brewer is at the mic? I think Mr. Harris wants to ask questions to Mr. Moore, correct?
If there's no questions for Mr. Brewer, then I ask Mr. Moore to come to the mic.
Okay. Jim Moore is coming to the mic. Jim, we'll ask you to pull your mask off so we can hear you.
Gladly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Mr. Moore, I'm understanding that from what Mr. Brewer is saying, this would give you the capability of probably 2 additional houses from the way it's presently zoned, but then someone is saying that you have changed, you've made some changes.
Yeah,
since
that's
you were with the
correct.
Planning
So
Commission. So explain what you're wanting to do.
I don't know if you all have, and I'm hesitant to hand out documents, but this dark shaded plat here, which was our concept if we were going to improve Dunn Road, and we've decided not to do that. And so this would have been 4 lots on Dunn Road. We're going to leave Dunn Road alone, and would just be left with 1 lot that's on the original plat that's in your packet. And honest, so then that would take, it's actually going to be less lots. Mr. Harris will be going from 7 lots currently platted to 6. So it will actually be lower density than what is already approved.
So if it's currently zoned for 6 lots and
It's zoned for 7.
7 lots and you're
Yes, sir.
going to 6.
Correct.
and- But you still need the rezoning.
We need the rezoning in order to turn the, because right now we're a non-conforming use, so we can't change a non-conforming use, and Mr. Brewer can correct me on this. We can't change a non-conforming use, so we have to rezone it in order to shift the lots to face Baldwin,
Okay.
and
Is that so, Mr. Brewer?
Yes.
Come on back to the mic. We'll let you.
we had several discussions, if there was another way to do this, we're
He can build on the lots as platted. If, for him to replat the property, it has to have the proper zoning, which would be R7. So his lots would be a minimum of 7,000 square foot with 50-foot frontages.
Okay.
But he can build as it is platted as of November of 1945.
Okay. But you're stating to this board with it currently at 7 houses, you're only intending to do 6 houses?
in the future.
Whoa. We need this recorded.
Correct, yes.
Thank
If in the future Dunn Road is improved, then we can submit a site plan on that, but it's just not, in its current state, I don't think ready to carry additional homes.
Okay.
That's all my question.
Okay, Mr. Trotter, and then Mr. Hubbard.
Now, I was
We'll
going
go
to
around the
ask
room.
if it's anyone from the ward out there that lives in that area, if they want to speak on it. If anyone.
I know Mr. Francis is here.
Ms. Branch?
Okay, let's
Okay.
go on.
After Mr. Moore
Let's
is
go
through.
on. We've got some questions while Mr. Moore.
We have a public hearing next month.
Yeah.
If it
But here's
passes.
my question was about the opposition. Have you talked to anyone from out there, get any feedback from the
Yeah,
neighbors,
I have spoken to Mr. Francis, yes.
others?
No, sir. And I have not been approached by anyone.
Okay, that's what I want.
Yeah. I'm
And-
happy to. If somebody would like to come to my office, I welcome anyone like to discuss it. We're doing less houses, and if that's the goal for the neighborhood, then I think it's reasonable.
Okay. This side of the room. Mr. Gray?
I don't understand what the neighbors have against adding 6 or 7 $200,000 plus houses to that area. If you look around town, Mr. Moore has taken a lot of vacant lots and built some really nice houses that has helped Springfield. I don't think he's doing anything that's going to hurt that area or hurt Springfield.
Okay. Others?
So,
Anyone else? Okay, hold on just one second. Anybody on this side of the room? Okay.
so whether it's
Mr. Trotter?
rezoned or not, you can still build the houses, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can start tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we know,
Mr. Harris,
do
you
we
have,
know why the planning commission, or what the vote was? 4 to 3, do we know?
One member,
Mr. Brewer, would you like to
Yeah.
answer that question?
I don't want to answer that.
Let Ms.
3 to 3 and 1 abstain.
Okay, we have it, thank you. Okay, and we'll have a public hearing if this passes next month. So, Mr. Francis, you're for the public hearing. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
Other discussion? No other discussion? Yes, Mr. Trotter.
I'm not, like I said, I still have to vote with my constituents until we have a public hearing.
All right, we're ready for a vote?
A is passing, is that correct?
Yes. Okay, everybody understand what they're voting for? Okay, anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 5-2.
Point of order, Mayor.
Sir?
The maker of the motion voted no. If you make the motion, aren't you committed to?
It's a motion to
aren't you-
discuss.
Aren't you committed to moving the motion forward?
It's a motion to
Motion to
discuss.
discuss.
Hold on just a second. I'm going to call on our city attorney, Ms. Barty. Am I correct? The motion would be to just be able to bring it to the floor for discussion, correct?
I agree that the motion was to bring it to the floor for discussion, and then the vote was whether or not for it to pass.
Well,
Okay.
would it not be true that for the, I guess, the production of the body, to make the motion, you would be more inclined for it? Never mind. I mean, that's what Robert's Rules of Order says.
Okay, we'll move on to 2.5. Discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-17 on a first reading. An ordinance abandoning the right-of-way at the intersection of Baldwin Lane and Harflane. Ms. Brickles, will you please read this?
Ordinance 20-17, an ordinance abandoning the right-of-way at the intersection of Baldwin Lane and Harflane. Whereas Venture 24 LLC has requested the right-of-way of approximately 28 feet in width to be abandoned at the intersection of Baldwin Lane and Harflane, and whereas the Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed the request and recommends the right-of-way to be abandoned. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. The right-of-way located at the intersection of Baldwin Lane and Harflane, located on tax map 91J, Group A of the tax maps of Robertson County, approximately 28 feet in width and approximately .133 acres, shown in Exhibit A attached, will be abandoned by the City of Springfield. Easements for all existing utilities owned or maintained by the City of Springfield utility departments within this right-of-way will be required and will be donated to the respective utility departments as shown on a survey plat provided at the requester's expense. Owner of the property shall be responsible for obtaining all surveys, legal adjustments to amend the property deeds of properties involved, and shall be responsible for all costs of said work. All ordinances and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only. The right-of-way abandonment shall become effective following its third and final passage as required by law.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to discuss in a second? Motion made by Alderman Gregg, seconded by Vice Mayor Harris. Questions? Discussion? Mr. Hubbard.
Clarify what we,
This is, once again, the companion of the previous rezoning. This is closing down that 28-foot right-of-way that is Harflane, an unimproved right-of-way. If we abandon this right-of-way and Venture 24 takes it over, they will use this to front all of their lots if it's rezoned onto Baldwin Lane, instead of 4 lots fronting Harflane, and then build a 20-foot wide road and a 28-foot right-of-way.
Okay.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Moore, I'm going to echo what Alderman Gregg said. You have done an excellent job. Yes, we definitely want to build up. But with all of the chatter and stuff, okay, that's why I had to vote no, okay? After the public hearing, we'll clear it up.
Okay. Other questions? No more discussion? We're ready for a vote. Mr. Stain, would you like to vote? Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 5-2.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-18 on a first reading. An ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021's annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund and utility fund operating budgets. Ms. Brickles, will you please read this first reading?
Ordinance 20-18, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund and utility fund operating budgets. Whereas it is necessary to amend the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2021 in order to meet the requirements of the city charter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the City of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2021 is hereby amended to make necessary changes to expenditures and revenues within the funds and departments as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Gregg. Questions? Ms. Holt, our city manager.
I'll just say, some people may be wondering why we're already amending the FY21 budget since we just passed it. But this is money that's left over from the budget that we just ended, and it's encumbering funds for money that was in the last budget that just did not get spent. So we've got everything for the next month or so. These items here were included in last year's budget that will be spent. So that's what this is, just to get it straight in the budget so that we're compliant.
Thank you for pointing that out, and that's something we have to do every year, if you're reminded. Any questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.7, our city managers requested to pull this from our agenda. 2.8, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-26, a resolution authorizing the appropriation of funds in the fiscal year 2021's annual budget for the financial aid of the nonprofit, charitable, and nonprofit civic organizations in according to Section 6-54-111, Tennessee Code annotated. Do we have a motion to discuss? And a second. A motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss. Questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
2.9, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-27, a resolution declaring the intent of the City of Springfield to reimburse itself for certain expenditures related to the Public Works project with the proceeds of the tax-exempt debt obligations to be issued by the City of Springfield, an approximate amount of $9,110,000. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris and a second by Alderman Gregg. Ms. Holt, our city manager.
I just wanted to clarify that this is not authorizing the board to borrow this money. What we're doing, so don't everybody get excited that we're borrowing $9.1 million. What we're doing is authorizing departments to make purchases so that we can get reimbursed later in the year with everything that's included in the budget that we need to borrow. And usually what we end up doing is probably borrowing about 50% of what we authorize. But this is just authorizing purchases so that we can reimburse ourselves once we do borrow. So everything you see listed does not mean we're going out there right now. Just wanted everybody to know.
Housekeeping, correct. Questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.10, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 20-28, a resolution to appoint a department head to the Business Conduct and Ethics Committee. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Gregg, seconded by Alderman Hubbard. Questions?
Let's say who it is. It's Terry Beers.
Terry Beer?
Terry
Beer
Beers,
had
yeah.
to pull young man.
He lost the coin toss.
The only one that hadn't done it yet.
Mr. Beers, I guess it's your turn. Shall we apologize now to you?
No, Big Blue got to stick together.
Any discussion or questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, second made by Alderman Trotter. Mr. Pinson.
We're down 0.9% last month.
Thank you, Mr. Pinson. You're starting out on the right foot in this role.
That's right.
Now you're my friend.
Okay. Any questions? And for those that, Ms. Holt?
Just wanted to point out that at Mr. Sneed's request last month, the chart of the rates is included. So now you have a 13-month chart. And the gas department on the next item did the same thing. So we will keep that updated going forward.
Thank you. I saw that in on our computer. Any other questions? This is something that we have to do each month, and TVA sets the adjustments. We're ready for a vote. Mr. Sneed, would you like to vote? Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the monthly gas rates of the Springfield Gas Department. Do we have a motion and a second to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, second by Alderman Arnold. Mr. Riddle, do you have the good news for us this?
Yes, we do. The purchase gas adjustment's now 3.7%.
Good news, thank you. Any questions? Gentlemen, we like it when you're both going down, just in case you want to know. Not that you have any control over it. We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.3, State Form CT 0253, the report on the debt obligations, which reports on $3,620,000 general obligation public improvements and refund bonds, Series 2020, issued on June 25th, 2020. No action is required. This is just a report. 3.4, discuss and possible take action to approve an agreement with Tyler Technology to become the city's ERP software provider. Do we hear a motion to discuss in a second? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions for Ms. Holt on this? Yes, sir.
Have we used them before?
No, this is what we've been talking about for years, and Mr. Martin can fill you in on the details.
Okay.
But this is to replace local government, which we have had, when I started in 1990, it was old then. And we've talked about this over the years, how it is just, it's just, well, we're glad to finally be getting rid of it. But we've been talking with different companies for 3 or 4 or 5 years now, and we've been talking strictly with Tyler for the last maybe 2.5 years. And this is changing our whole system. This is everything. It's going to upset everybody's world. It's going to take about 18 months to do the transition, but it's a big thing. But Tyler is one of the leading companies, and we're just finally, it's expensive, but it's a long-term commitment. And it's something that's desperately needed. And they are the one company that we could get to do all of the general fund reporting and keeping up with taxes and utilities, as well as all the electric department TVA reporting. And that's what they spent a lot of time working on. So
Well, and we've talked about this, and this has been in our planning every year when we do the planning session in January. And it's very difficult to find software that can serve all of our entities, especially our enterprise funds. Questions for Mr. Martin?
Glad we pulled the trigger.
It's going to be 18 months of hard work, but it'd be well worth it in the end.
Thanks, y'all.
Any questions? Any more discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.5, our city manager is asked to pull this from our agenda too. We'll move on to 3.6. Discuss and possible take action to approve the interlocal agreement between the E911 Emergency Communication District of Robertson County and Robertson County and the other municipalities in the county for dispatch services. Do we hear a motion to discuss? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, second by Alderman Hubbard. Okay, this is something we've talked about for a while too, and finally it has come to fruition.
Gina, this is to save the city some money?
This will actually save the city this year because the county is giving back 1/2 of their savings to all the municipalities. But going forward, it won't save us. It just means that the county's not going to be paying for all of the other municipalities like they have been. So everybody will be paying their fair share now. And of course, that helps us. We're all county citizens too, and we pay county taxes. So that's one way it helps each individual. But it's just all of the entities that actually use dispatch will now be paying for it, where that has not been the case in the past. It's been Springfield and White House only, and the county's been picking up for everybody else.
And I will also say, thank you, Ms. Holt, Mr. Martin have been in a lot of meetings for a long time trying to get this ironed out. So,
and this year, in our current budget, it is actually $22,000 less than last year's budget on dispatch, just as a result of the county's savings credit.
Other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.7, discuss and possible take action to approve a contract with Great Southern Recreation for the playground poured in the place surfacing and shade sail seating area at Martin Luther King Park in the amount of $372,229.11. Of course, this is budgeted for MLK Park Phase 3 project of $1.2 million. Do we hear a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Trotter, second by Alderman Gregg.
These two pictures right here from these companies.
Okay. I'm sure you have questions for Mr. Terry Martin. And we have two gentlemen here from the department, from the companies too, that Mr. Martin can bring forth. This is an amazing drawing. I can't wait.
Pretty exciting. Do you have any questions for
Mr. Martin?
Mr. Hubbard.
We have talked about and dreamed about this for a long time.
Yes.
I mean, we was out this morning just envisioning how it's going to look and stuff. But it's going to really just make it a magnificent, it's already a magnificent park. It's really going to really hang it out.
Just needed some
And thank
ads.
you, sir, for
It's going to be nice.
your dedication.
They're going to enjoy it.
When do we start?
We gotta pass it first.
Yeah. If we get a thumbs up tonight, I think our starting date's going to be October, maybe late September, early October.
Alderman Trotter.
Vote before we change your mind.
You're right, you're right.
Well, and here is another example of our planning that we've been planning for several years. Can't do everything at once. We like to add new things to the city of Springfield, and our parks are great. Everyone enjoys all of our parks. Any questions?
Comment.
Sir?
I mean, I'm not being partial, but yet still,
Yes, you are.
At the park, the department works hard and really, you should get kudos to the maintenance men in the park. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you,
they
Alderman
be
Hubbard.
humping in 100-degree weather.
Sure. Well, now, I'm going to say that the rest of these departments are outside
Oh,
too
they're
now.
doing good too, right?
Because they're looking at you going, I'm working outside too.
We love all of you. I'm not being partial.
Any discussion? Ms. Holt?
I was just going to add that this is the project that we have the grant funding for as well, so that's going to offset the cost. So.
That's always good. Okay. No more discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.8, discuss and possible take action to approve offers on the surplus properties acquired via the delinquent tax sales. We need a motion and a second. Motion by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Hubbard. Any questions? Another one of the things we do each month. No questions? Ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'd like to add something. On this agenda item, the last page, I wanted to point out to you the city-owned surplus real estate transaction report, everything closed in FY20. I think it's important, this program that we've started, the city has made $188,731 just on these properties in the last fiscal year. So this is a program that we just started, 2 years ago, I guess? And you can see that we've had 309 offers. And anyway, you can see the accepted offers, but the city proceeds $188,000. So that's pretty good for the fact that now we don't have to maintain these properties, and we're not having to send people out to mow, and we're getting them back on the tax rolls. So just wanted to point out, I think this is a very successful program.
Thank you.
Do we have a lot left, a lot of properties?
I'm not sure.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, moving on to 3.9. Discuss and possible take action on the construction agreement with CSX Transportation, Inc. to replace a culvert under the railroad and Memorial Boulevard. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Hubbard. Ms. Holt.
Okay, we've been talking about this a long time, too. We finally, we passed, I think it was in May, we passed the Garnier construction contract, and so this is finally the one from CSX. If you will notice on page E1 of the contract in Exhibit E, there are some stipulations. And what CSX will do is we are required, first of all, to pay $189,200, and that we have to do that anytime we deal with CSX, so we pay that up front. CSX will turn around and pay us $532,200. So we're netting $346,000. That is something that we did not budget. We didn't know if we were going to be able to get any funds from CSX, but we will. However, I wanted to point out on Exhibit E, page E1, it's one of the requirements for this funding is that we have to start out, we have to initiate the process to facilitate a permanent closure of the crossing at Cheatham Street. So in your agenda packet, you have the map of the three crossings that are very close together. And you can see South Main, Cheatham Street, and Richard Street. So CSX wants to close that middle one at Cheatham Street so that there's no through traffic whatsoever. That is a stipulation. And so we have to initiate it before they will make their first payment. And they're willing to make the first payment within 90 days of the fully executed contract, But we have to go into it knowing that we're going to have to close that. And we're not sure what the procedure is as far as if there are requirements from CSX that we have to do. But I'm sure that there's a little more to it, but we're committing to do that if we accept this contract. I just wanted everybody to be aware of that.
And how do we close it then?
Pardon?
How do we close it?
Well, that's what I get, CSX will have to tell us how.
The barriers, I guess.
What, I'm sure they have requirements.
Do we have any type of traffic count on what goes across that crossing in a day's time, or?
Now that, I don't know. We pulled accidents, and of course, someone was killed there
About 7
earlier
years
this
ago.
year, I think.
Right.
And then once before, I know.
Mr. Field out there?
But I don't think there's been a whole lot at that, but, you know, I'm not sure, it doesn't seem like it's a high-traffic area, but it could
Do we
be.
know that reason?
I think they just don't want the maintenance of it.
We're going to go around the room. Alderman Trotter.
So I guess there's no time limit on how long it'll be closed or anything.
Permanently. They want to close it completely for good, because they have three so close together.
That doesn't have a rail, does it?
I think it's got cross arms,
Yeah,
yes.
I think they put one up after Mr. Hill typed there, right?
Yeah.
Alderman Hubbard, were you finished, Mr. Trotter? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Alderman Hubbard.
Chief, would that be a problem for
Chief-
you all to get to?
Chief Head, if you'll come to the mic.
No, the fire department, chief.
No, so we go around the tracks anyway, we don't ever cross the tracks going to calls.
Even though you have that mental health center and those,
We go around Memorial, come up 10th Avenue. We don't
Okay.
ever cross the tracks.
so that wouldn't impede any, you'll still get there in a very, okay.
They're not coming across the tracks. Okay.
That's what I was concerned
You have a call on North Main, you go down Memorial?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Other side of the room, Alderman Gray.
That was my question to Fire Chief.
Okay. Mr. Sneed?
Chief, on the policy about going around the tracks, you are aware that CSX will allow emergency services to have a radio channel where they could monitor the traffic and communicate with trains. And then if I'm sure you're worried about arriving at the crossing and being blocked, with today's technology to make responding to calls, because that's in my area, these areas, with the technology today, placing cameras there to make sure there's one that's just not sitting there blocking the crossing. I mean, those are things that,
It's very rare trains sit still on those parts of the tracks, we have signs in other places in town. Our problem is you don't ever know when the train's coming.
right,
So we don't want to get a truck stuck and then we're sitting, have to back the truck
Right.
back up, and then figure out a way around, it keeps wasting time, so we just go the other way.
but you are allowed to have an access to that radio channel and monitor the communication of the train moving in that direction. That would, you would know what's coming. If you, yeah, I mean, that's not something a lot of people know about, but
Let me check.
Thank you.
I would not be in favor of closing the crossing. There's some developers who are wanting to do extensive developing in that area. You might counter with lowering the speed limit right there. It used to be 40 miles an hour, and then some local politicians got right on a train that was agreed to increase it to 50. Then years later, there's another politician that got a hitchhiked a ride and agreed to raise it to 60. That's some old history that I'm sure none of y'all are aware of, but that's why it's 60 miles an hour through Springfield, where 30 years ago it used to be 40.
Can we get you to go back and negotiate that?
Well, I mean, we can pass an ordinance to put an ordinance on the speed limit through there. That's what some towns do, but, and there's other areas where if you've got complete crossings from one side to the other, and then there's concrete barriers in the middle lane so they can't go around, you could implement a no-blow zone where you wouldn't have to blow the horn. There's a lot of different things, but they're basically wanting to buy that right away to close it off.
Okay.
Cedar Hill sold 2 of them for a bargain basement price of $500. They didn't know what they were worth. They're worth a lot.
Do we have any streets that are currently like that?
Do we have any,
Do we have any streets that are currently, would be like that with track closed crossing? Probably not.
They request closing crossings all the time. Greenbrier's got a bunch where the trucks hang on that, right there behind the Citgo, they hang up right there all the time. Greenbrier won't let them close it, but trucks get hung up there and get.
I can't think of any. But I will say that this contract, one of the reasons why it's a little bit longer, took a little bit longer, is it was negotiated not to close it initially, and to try just back and forth, and then it was to initiate and not really commit, and then I think finally they worked with us long enough and they said, this is it.
Okay.
So.
We've gotten any action on
Alderman
this? TDOT
Trotter.
do anything?
TDOT has not committed one thing.
Well,
Okay.
Jan, what is the, you were negotiating for them to pay some for the repair of this tunnel.
Yeah, we wanted funds.
Right.
No, this was a particular contract, and the language on this paragraph that we were talking about, I was referring to just now, just on this.
Right. All right, the next time we need a right-of-way or right-of-way, or, because that's come up several times with Mr. Beers and the Water Department, are we setting a precedence to close other crossings next time we need something from the railroad?
It's up to us whether we,
I'm not really following that. All I know is that this is $346,000 for stormwater project that we desperately need to get started. What we do, I don't think anything else, as far as any crossings right away or whatever, I don't think it's going to make any difference,
Are we
frankly.
going to
I think they're
improve,
going to do what they want.
the traffic that's going through there now, are we going to make any improvements for the redirect of the people that live in that area?
We don't have any plans at this time.
So we're just going, we could vote to close it.
Ninth Avenue
not
is
improve it.
probably on some kind of schedule.
There's a group of developers want to buy that whole area right there, as you know.
Would they be willing then to, I'm sure they would be willing to.
That's changing the
Yeah,
plan.
I'm sure.
If you don't have a crossing right there, you don't have to blow it, so that would be a little quieter, but you'd still hear it because you have to blow from a distance away. You'd still hear it from the other crossings.
Oh, sure.
okay.
You can see it from the other crossings.
Alderman Trotter had a
You're
question.
talking about the area right below the cemetery, right there, cemetery?
No, that's Richard Street. This is Cheatham Street. It's by Centerstone, and you know where the depot is?
yeah,
It's the
right.
next block back
Okay,
there.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Everybody understand what we're discussing? Alderman Gregg, did you have a question?
So basically, we're selling this piece of property for $267,000.
346,000 is what we net.
If we don't close it,
Then we're losing 346,000 for the stormwater project. But we're not really selling that. This is one of their conditions for providing the funding.
will they pay more?
No, we try. I'm just thrilled we're getting this.
Well, that's about as high as I've ever seen one.
There's not a lot of traffic goes through anyway.
Yeah.
They must really want it closed.
I think the community ought to have their input. We've only known about this for a couple of weeks, and
Well, what will happen, I imagine, on the formal closing procedure, there will probably be a public hearing and notices will go out. Yeah, this is just our commitment that that's what we will do. And I'm sure that there's a lot to it as far as how you close one of these.
you don't know who you're dealing with. I wouldn't agree to this until I did what I wanted to do first.
Well, I wanted the money.
You heard it.
She's been negotiating
Oh, we
them
want money,
for
money,
them
money.
with a
What neighborhood do you live in?
long time.
Trust
Other
me, I
questions?
can hear the trains where I live.
Yes.
And I'm about a mile.
We can all hear the trains in Robertson County. Alderman Hubbard?
Yes, you were mentioning, because it was kind of a semi-public hearing at First Baptist about the gentleman who wanted to buy all the way from the track all the way up to the church to redevelop it, a developer. And he was going to really put in prime real estate. I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name, but you sort of mentioned that. I think he was a part of a Black Lines corporation.
Black Line Realty.
Right.
But,
Is he still interested in
I
developing?
mean, this is all new. I think we need some input from the people that live out there
Yeah,
before we.
yeah, they had input then about that.
I moved to postpone this indefinitely.
Well, let me just say, our planning department gets all kinds of drawings, submittals of projects that never come to fruition. Usually by the time, if we believe them and we go ahead and make some concessions, they don't go through. Or if they go through, we get burned. We cannot put off a project this important that we have been working on for 2.5 years or more, that floods Memorial Boulevard every time there's a flash flood. And people are tired of it, and it's just going to keep getting worse. And we can't do that based on the fact that somebody might do a development. And I'll just leave
Take
it
the
at that.
money.
Well,
That means ready
Our-
to take the money.
our problem, and I will reiterate, our problem on Memorial Boulevard
Yeah.
is a huge
It
issue.
is an issue.
Any other discussion?
Take the money, I'm tired of flooding.
Any
my
other
bank.
discussion?
I think if it was in your neighborhood, you would get the opinions of your neighbors before you did this, and that's where I stand on it.
Okay, any other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-1.
Okay, moving on to our consent doc.
Mayor, without objection, I move we take it as one.
Okay,
Second.
second by Mr. Trotter. Any discussion on the consent? Any questions?
Comment?
Sir?
Well, this apartment, I'm glad of these upgrades. We really need it.
Okay, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Our city manager, Ms. Gina Holt.
Is it just me, or did it get hot in here?
No, it's not in there.
I won't be long, but I did have a couple of things I wanted to relay. First of all, the census, we cannot forget that the census is going on. Our Springfield average response rate, and of course right now it's mostly self-response, is 56.5%. So that's pretty low. The state's rate is 61.5, and the county's rate is 66%, but Springfield is 56.5. The highest census tract in the city has a 74% response rate. The lowest has a 49%. So we are leaving a lot of money on the table, a whole lot of money on the table, if we don't get our residents to respond to the census. We have some good news as far as our webpage. I think it's at the end of this month, isn't it, that we're going to have a totally new webpage, a new look, a new design. It should be a lot easier to use. Our customers, residents should be able to have a lot more accessibility to what they're trying to find. And we're excited about that. So it's got this new look. And then we're also going to have banners on Memorial Boulevard. So we're going to have the same look, the same design. It's kind of like a rebranding of sorts, but it will definitely dress up Memorial Boulevard. So you will see that same design on the webpage and on the banners on Memorial. So that's kind of exciting. But I also wanted to give everyone some good news, because we just don't get much good news now. And we're just finalizing our financials for the end of the fiscal year. So it's not definite yet. So Robert definitely wants to make sure that I don't say this is done deal because we haven't been audited, haven't even finished it out yet. But I just wanted to tell you all that property taxes for the last fiscal year that just ended, we came in at 99.5% of budget. So only 23,000 off our projection for property taxes in a COVID-19 year. That's pretty good when you're looking at 4.65 million. I was blown away by that. But on the other hand, delinquent property taxes came in over budget at 129.5% with 56,000 over budget on our delinquent. So that's good. Our local sales tax is unbelievable. We came in over budget. Even with all the closures for retail in this year, we exceeded last fiscal year's by 221,000. 221,000, that is phenomenal. Our state sales tax came in just 4,300 short of our budget. So other cities can't say that. But that's great. Our building permits, we were 125% of budget, so we were 41,275 over budget for building permits. So things did not slow down. Things kept going. And lastly, the Legacy Golf Course, we reached $1 million in revenue. First time. Man, this has been a long time coming, $1 million. And to do it this year of all years, it just, again, it's phenomenal. To think that they were closed for almost a month and they still got to $1 million. So, but these numbers are a testament to our citizens. I mean, they've shopped at home, they've continued doing business. Like I say, most cities we're hearing, oh my gosh, they're having trouble, their sales tax is down, everything's down. And yet, we are so blessed to be here, we really are. And of course, this may not continue. Our first quarter for this fiscal year, they may not look good, but I have faith that the rest of the year we will make it up. And I have faith in our citizens and residents. I think we're going to get through this. So I just wanted to throw some good news out there.
Well, and there is good news all around Springfield. The retailers, when I walk in the store, are very thankful and blessed and want everyone to let everyone know how everyone has supported them, and they thank you for continuing to support our businesses here in Springfield. It's been amazing. So even when COVID's over, remember to shop in Springfield if you can. Yes, Alderman Trotter.
I just want to recognize the Honorable Alan Ellis back there.
I forgot. Alan, we're glad you're in the room with us. This is your first visit after retirement. I'm sure you were here to talk about the railroad.
To listen, I told him he couldn't.
I'm pretty sure Ms. Holt told you that you couldn't be on the payroll. You were just here to listen.
I told him he couldn't talk, he had to listen.
Our meeting is adjourned.